Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful. When the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
And I'm having like overall connection issues because I'm not really getting market data either, am I? Okay. I think we're back. I think we're okay. You guys with me? Buffering? Yeah, I think that an animal bumped a cord. Okay. I was all wanted to have like a good intro. I was going in. Treasuries are so great. Here we go. All right. So yesterday we had a pretty strong move up. There was some short covering the day before, and then some of that momentum continued yesterday. And then in the overnight session, the Democrats came out and suggested that their stimulus was going to be $2 trillion, not just, 79 billion or whatever it was. So that really pushed the treasuries down quickly, and I'm surprised that there wasn't continuation off of that, but we may get that today. We'll see. We do have some numbers and so forth to look at here. So now in the E-mini recovering as the interest rates decreased and they weren't really affected by the stimulus news overnight. Kind of curious. Oil, taking a big hit yesterday. I'm not quite sure what the driver for that was, but some oil specific news there. Also over here in gold, the funny thing is that when these things happen, you would think that would make gold more valuable, right? Well, the robots is selling it, so I don't know. And here over in copper still kind of ranging since that little plummet over the weekend. But maybe recovering there. I don't know. And when we come over to the dollar, the dollar's still kind of ranging around, but actually looking strong. And this, I think, has more to do with euro weakness than it does U.S. fiscal policy. Okay? So that's all very important. Let's see here. When speech by Chairman Powell. Yes, that's a very important. Like any Fed speaker right now is being really closely watched for whatever reason. So they've been having to like backtrack comments, and market reads too much into what they say is the basic gist of it. But yeah. So here we are. We'll see what it gives us. The Treasury is pretty quiet, actually. The E-mini bumbling around there. Well, we got 2 minutes to some news, right? We got jobless claims, import prices. Don't we have? I guess the producer price index is tomorrow. Yeah. Okay, well, let's turn on the Texas speech. I got the robots on. In fact, one of them would have taken a short, so there's that. Yeah, so let's see here. Okay, so the numbers we're looking for 780 estimated versus a previous reading of 787. Let's see here. What's you got here? When the coming year will be big for hydrogen-based technologies and bring with it plenty of good news for shares of Ballard Power Systems. A Raymond James analyst predicts. Well, that's interesting. I didn't know that there was stocks that you could use to take advantage of hydrogen power. Okay, so there's the news. We're coming out. Initial jobless claims higher than expected, 965,000 versus 780. Also, the 4-week claims and continuing claims are all a little higher than expected. Import prices, also, import and export prices both higher than expected. Spot 9 versus spot 6, one spot 1 versus spot 5. Now, just note, the E-mini definitely reacted to that and sold, but the Treasury did not. There hasn't really, not really a ton of volume. I'm going to clear this here so we can see. That's kind of curious. Also, why did I not get... Oh, you know why? Because I don't have the... Yeah. Like, why did I not get the news squawk? There we go. Okay, so Brandon wants to go short the E-mini here. Makes sense to me. Well, Bitcoin moving up a little bit overnight. I don't. That might be the pump I was thinking about. Oh, that's really weird. That move down there. Clyburn on NPR says there aren't 17 GOP votes needed to convict Trump in the Senate at this time. Perhaps they thought better. So here we're just looking for maybe because of the stimulus that the treasuries were going to sell it, but they're not. So, I'm just realizing here that I never figured out what the little arrow is on my strategy. Control Center Strategies tab. For multi-instrument strategies, a small red flag can appear to the right of the sync value. This would alert the user to expand the row to check the sync for any additional instruments the strategy adds as well. Oh, and then I can expand it. I see. Okay, that answers that question. Okay. Oh, you know, when sometimes the sometimes the headlines that you post are like, nah. But sometimes there are important things that we should probably talk about. And I think that this one here, Alibaba is up 5% and Tencent 5.6% as they surged in Hong Kong. And Baidu lifted in the NASDAQ pre-market after reports that American investors won't be banned from investing in the Chinese internet giants after all. Yeah, I think that this is, well, it's really interesting, don't you think, how significantly these stocks get impacted by this kind of news. This is a story that we should really keep an eye on, particularly as the Biden administration starts out, because there were some companies that were pretty much outright banned. And we'll see if Joe Biden does anything about it. Okay, well, the shorts that Brandon took so far at the moment don't look to be going so hot, do they? Nisquawk says the Bitcoin flush out really hit hard this week. Hashtag claims from Newsquawk. That's weird. Oh, you know what? Did my thing break here? Ooh. Well, I'm not going to touch it, but that does remind me that I wanted to make a new chart here. I'm not quite sure where I'm going to put it, but I wanted to just come in and do like a, oh, I don't know. How about a 5-second chart? 5-second chart one day. Okay. And I'm going to add to it some of my strategies, resting orders at the very least. And level 2 changes. So I'm just going to let that sit in the background, and then later today, see if we'll see if I can do some back testing on it. That came from Barron's column, The Buzz. Yeah. Well, the big news is still that the Democrats want to do $2 trillion worth of stimulus. Now, will Joe Manchin support $2 trillion in stimulus? That's basically the question, right? So Delta halves crash and burn in the fourth quarter, narrow losses to cap the worst year ever. Huh. Well, I tell you what, it's awfully quiet. By the way, the stream is all good for you guys now, right? Yeah. Well, we got 21 people in here, so I think that the connection issues that we had at the beginning are all resolved. I think that I need to redo that. Maybe I need to redo that port over there, because it seems to me that if like a dog goes back and bumps it, that it stops working. I should switch it to fiber optic. That's what I should do. Okay, so E-mini about to rise above this area here. I'm actually wondering. I really zoom in here. While I'm tempted, it looks to me like that the timing for a long is not correct. Now, on the other hand, oh, you know, there's another thing I was thinking about when was the clip thing. I think that what we should start doing with that is, especially when there's like a big move of some sort, like or a piece of news comes out and moves the market. That seems to be when I was going back, that was the thing where I was like, oh, I wish I had taken better notes. So we should start making notes on that. Airlines are up overall. Yeah, I mean, it looks like the earnings for Delta and stuff wasn't so bad. Oh, here we go. This guy wanted. It's really curious to me. The robots hit this news last night, certainly in the treasuries, but this morning the market's not really doing anything. And I'm really wondering what's going on here. I feel like there must be something else going on. Hi, Sugar Daddy. Yeah, piece of news moves the markets, clip it. Yeah, that's what I think we should do. It was, and I was thinking, another thing I was thinking was, we got to get you and Ace in Discord. So if you haven't tried getting into Discord, you should try that today. Oh man, my voice is a little fry, a little excessive on the fry today, isn't it, man? Joe Biden is supposed to announce his plan. Could that be that? You know, I think that's a really good theory, actually. Like, the thing that was funny was when I was reading about this on Zero Hedge last night, you know, like I first saw it on Zero Hedge and then I went around to the other news outlets to see what they were saying about it. But when Zero Hedge was talking about it, they were, I mean, the way that I read it was they almost found it amusing. Like, yeah, like the politicians have finally figured it out now and they're just completely gorging themselves on, let's give people free money and see what happens. And they were particularly upset at the suggestion by the central bank guy that they needed to look at the basic universal income. So they were saying, maybe by the time that Joe Biden goes and does his speech, it will be a $4 trillion stimulus. You know what I mean? Have you finished reading your book? I read a little bit of it, but I've still got a ways to go. Uzi says, I keep getting free money I don't need. Well, it concerns me. It really does. Like, here's the thing. When they did this the first time, like, people really needed it. And I'm sure that there are some people that needed it, but I'm going to guess that the majority of those people are people that probably could have used some extra cash anyways. But there's very clear... it's unquestionable. Man, I'm having issues with my throat and everything today. In my opinion, it is unquestionable that the stimulus pumped the market. And that first big one that we got, a lot of people put it in their trading accounts and just put it into stocks. And you know what? That's like the smart thing to do, to be quite frank. If there's going to be all this free money around and you got money that you didn't expect, then the first thing that you should do is go and buy assets that will bring a return for you, right? But if everybody's doing it, then you end up overpaying for it. So, like, there's going to be consequences to it for sure. And the thing that I'm worried about is that I don't think the consequences will be clear for a really long time. And in the meantime, it looks like the politicians are going to like double and triple down on this policy. You know what I mean? I read somewhere that a study showed the markets do better if the president is unpopular. I am not sure where that leaves Biden. Pretty sure where it leaves Trump. Well, I think that's just because the market tends to like the status quo right now. It's just low-key corporate welfare. It was easy to tell when people in the neighborhood got their checks on garbage day. The giant TV boxes were at every driveway. Really, dude? Oh, man. Did you see that? I saw this video like the day that happened on Walmart, like this most recent stimulus happened. There was all of these TVs lined out on the grocery store, on the Walmart aisle, and they had priced the TV so that with tax, it was equal the stimulus amount. Yeah, there you go. They put them on sale for exactly what exactly. And it's like, oh yeah, and think about it from the politician's point of view. Like they get it both ways, right? The constituents get money and think that they're giving them money, but then they go out and spend it at Walmart, and then Walmart is happy because Walmart got that money too. So it's like they get to please their corporate overlords too. But it's leading to inflation for sure. They send us money that we send to the rich, and we think we're getting the upper hand, right? And that is unless you go and you buy assets with it. You go and you buy stocks with it. But then if you're overpaying for it, that doesn't really help you or anybody, does it? So then the question becomes, what is the smart thing to do with that money right now? Because I'm quite apprehensive about just straight up putting it in stocks, you know? Sunday driver is the Guardian class. Oh, is that? I don't know. So then I'm like, well, we could put it into real estate. The real estate market is really high right now too, and that is a different issue. That's because everybody's moving. I don't know. So I have to think about it. It's like, what is a sector of the economy that is important and needs investment and isn't doing very well right now, is undervalued? I don't know where you get from it, you know? I throw mine all into a stock account. I don't immediately invest it, but at least it's there for when the crash happens and everything goes on. So yeah, well, yeah, I'm holding a lot of cash. Yeah. So the stimulus plan that I was hearing was monthly payments. And they were saying that it was going to be like $250 or $350 per child on a monthly basis. Can you believe that? Well, so far they're still buying here. I'm not quite sure. And I guess the trend overall is up. It gets, how far back do I need to go here before I can see? Okay. So this drop, well, if they're going to retrace the whole drop in the 10-year, that would take us way up to like the 25, 26 area. Bow of the fifth column says water resources. Oh, yeah. Well, commodities. Yeah. Well, and that's another issue is that, like what I can buy commodity stocks. I can buy gold stocks. That actually might be a good idea for us to have a chosen gold stock, because it seems to me like that with the way that the interest rates are moving, that it's been unfavorable to gold because of the way that certain arbitrage and robots and strategies work, but that in the end, the macro environment should be positive for gold. I like how you laugh while saying something you're irritated by. You're becoming a you're too. Wait, what was it that was said that I was irritated by? I laugh at everything, man. You notice I have a little bit of I would say I believe that I have a very slight mild bit of mania going on. Like I will go from completely dead. Like so I get off work yesterday and I sit down and sit on the couch or whatever, and then I'm going through TikTok and I just can't find anything on TikTok that I find interesting. It's just like boring AF. And the day before that, my wife was watching me watch TikTok, and she's like, "You're so easily amused. Like you're laughing at like every TikTok, and you think it's like so funny, and it's most of them are like not all that interesting." So I think that I go through like a manic and depressive episodes, and if I wasn't for my ADHD medication, it would probably be more extreme. Because the thing is the Strattera really prevents the depression from coming in. So I'll go low and like bored, but I won't go depressed. It's kind of weird. So I don't know if that means that I'm going back through into the mania phase. I don't know. I think you were fine. Well, no, it's definitely a thing that happens. And I've been trying to figure out what it is, if it's like a diet thing or what is it that gets me to different spots in the cycle. And it's not something that's going on all the time, but I think it's something that's going on right now. It could be that I've just been really unhappy about the political situation. I don't want to say like I'm like, well, when I say that, I have this picture in my head of like people like being depressed and crying about but I still find politics amusing, but I'm also just, it seems like every step of the way I'm concerned about stuff, and everything that I read, when I read what other people think about the political situation, it just makes me sick, because I got people on both sides of the aisle that are just stupid. That are just outright stupid. Egg yolk deprivation and consuming too. Well, I had eggs this morning. The more information you consume, the worse you. Well, yeah, and that's the thing is, I used to not feel like I got too affected. Like during all the impeachment stuff and everything, like I would go in and I would argue the points on the impeachment, and in retrospect, I think I was 100% right. And that's why I feel so confident about the current impeachment. It's like right now, it seems to me like that a lot of this is just like retribution. And maybe some Republicans are going after Donald Trump because they want to purge him from they want like his ideas to be so thoroughly repudiated that nobody else will be able to come in and try and push these populist ideas because of Donald Trump. That's what they're trying to create, right? But I think that some Republicans are going to get to the point and they're going to go, oh, if I do this, my base will hate me forever. And they'll probably try and remove me from office. And he didn't really say anything in that speech like what this resolution actually claims. And we would be setting a bad legal precedent. So I think in the end that they're not going to be able to impeach him. And who knows? Maybe maybe the Senate doesn't even bring it up. Maybe they are able to say, you can't impeach him. He's out of office now. Well, it looks to me like that trade in the 10-year didn't work out this time, so I'm just going to let it do its thing and sit by because there's clearly something is going on, but I'm not sure why. You're getting a decent amount of volume coming into the 5-year too. Well, that could just be short-term supply things. I don't know. Well, we don't have any auctions today. Oh, well, we have bill auctions, but... So that gave me a -4, right? Yep, okay. That's okay. You think he'll be convicted? I really don't think he will. like the biggest issue I see here is the charges that were made. So they basically created one article of impeachment, and the article is that he incited a riot, essentially, or incited insurrection. And from a legal perspective, you would not get a conviction. Like if he wasn't president and this wasn't being tried in the Senate and this was just being tried in a regular court of law, it would be deemed that he was exercising free speech. And not only that, but he was like specifically said in that speech to be peaceful. So, and here's another thing that is making it fall apart is that some of the really bad things that happened, like finding the pipe bombs and all of this sort of stuff, law enforcement were finding those things before he was done with his speech. So they were all premeditated. These people were planning this stuff long before Donald Trump said his speech. So you could say that they were incited, but it was long before he talked. And I think that they were. I mean, I think that these people were thinking that that's what was going to go down because it was just like, what else are you going to do if voting doesn't work? But Donald Trump never said anything to directly encourage them to do any of those acts. And so he cannot be legally responsible. And all of the facts suggest that he told them the exact opposite, to continue being peaceful. So yeah, I mean, if they do convict him, it will just be a political thing, right? But then that's where, again, I go back and I say, like, okay, yeah, but if you're a Republican and you vote for this, you're fucked, right? It's not a blue state. It's not a red state. It's the corruption states of America. Well, to that point, let me point something out to you. If you're on the Republican side here, and you're concerned about voter fraud, okay? there are like many states here now, like something like 17 to 20 states where they have a Republican legislature and a Republican Senate and a Republican governor. And the Republican Party can pass literally anything that they want. And that includes Utah, and that includes Georgia. So the state where I live and the state where there's, a big focus on potential voter fraud. The Republicans in Georgia have not done a darned thing about the supposed voter fraud. They have the ability to, but they haven't done anything. And here in Utah, I would say that the election laws in Utah are the way that the Republican establishment want it to be. They wanted mail-in voting. In Utah, it's because they want it to be easier for their rich establishment candidates to beat the young upstart far-right candidates. Because in Utah, that's a pretty big battle. I mean, that's the real battle. It's not between Republicans and Democrats. It's funny. If we were a blue state, we'd be unemployed, broken, 8 months behind on our... Oh, right, because they wouldn't even let you be open still. You wouldn't get the essential business license. Oh, man, I gotta say, the whole thing about, like, what ended up being an essential business and not thinking about that just blows my mind. Okay, well, what do you think? I'm getting... Jeez, okay, this is all just kind of very weird. So I can see the dollar is moving up. And the treasuries are moving up. I don't know why. I do have some things that tell me that at least filter wise that I can be going long in the E-mini. It's a little bit tight, so I'm a little bit... All right, well... Got that first crap trade out of the way. So you're not in one right now? Oh, you took it short. Well, then let's take it long. Yeah, Trump supporters heard him say, if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore, and we're going through the Capitol. People at the protests thought he was up front. Yeah, I just... there really is something to the... Yeah, I think we're a little bit late on this one, Ace. It probably should have been 2 ticks lower, but... Anyways, what was I going to say? I don't know. I'm not sure that you can say that it's specifically Donald Trump, but the Republicans in general, and I'm really talking more about like the people, were saying a lot of things that were essentially, if you truly believe those things, then you would try and overthrow the government in this, if you really believed that that was the situation. You know? So it was kind of, to me, I was a little shocked when he said, I want everybody to be there on January 6th. I didn't think it was a good idea. Like, what do you expect to do? Right? And what do you expect that people are going to, what do you think is going to happen? But it appears that he really was not thinking all that through. Alligator says waiting on Powell. Well, that could be. That'll be after we're done streaming, but we got Bostic in 2 hours too. I never understand how you can hold Trump and supporters social. Well, and that's the other thing is that the whole Twitter takedown and everything. There was I totally get the whole thing of them saying that like it's creating a dangerous situation, that like we need to remove these accounts because they could say something that would lead to more violence. But there is not a direct tweet that you can point to that they did or thing that they said that would justify them banning them. I can point to a number of tweets on the left where they were instigating, encouraging, and egging on violent protesters during the Black Lives Matters riots. But there was no such instance for Donald Trump and the people on the right. And there is definitely a double standard, no question about it. So you got it at 10 1/4. No, I'm still okay with it. In fact, it's giving me a chance to try and sort my position. I'm going to try and well, let's just stay on our toes though if there's like informed trading comes through, because you think the people that got aggressive are leftists in disguise. Well, there definitely is some evidence that there were also leftists there, but I don't think that you can use that to explain the whole thing, unfortunately. Yeah, that's grasping at straws. Yeah, it is. It's like okay, you have like 1,000 people, or let's just, I don't know how many people it was. It was probably in a few hundred. Let's say you have like 300 people. They illegally enter the Capitol and trash it, and one of those people happens to be a member of Antifa. Does that mean that Antifa is responsible? No. It's just a really silly argument. And it's really funny how effective that seems to be at getting people to, ignore it or whatever. But it's like a real, you notice this happens every time now, right? Anytime something bad happens, like when it was Black Lives Matters, right? Everybody on the left says, oh, Black Lives Matters, they weren't violent. It was just right-wing counter-protesters that were causing trouble, and that's why those bad things happen. Which, you go back and you watch the video, is absolutely ridiculous, but that's what they believe. And the people on the right are doing the exact same thing now. As there was an attack on the Capitol and hundreds of protesters go in there and they say that it was all lefties. No. Okay. The woman that got shot was not a lefty. Okay. And she got shot because she was trying to climb through that window when the police told them to back off. Everybody else backed off but her. Doesn't mean it was okay or justified or anything. But I'm just saying she was doing something she wasn't supposed to do, and she was not a lefty. That's all. Yeah, like in Minneapolis, they immediately blamed white supremacist infiltrators. It's just ridiculous. And it really does turn in every time on the political spectrum to, there's so much disinformation that a logical person really can't make a informed decision about what's really going on. It's quite a problem. I don't know what we're going to do about this issue as a society. Because we really are getting into a place where it's like the facts just don't matter. You know? Oh, and I wish I could say was as easy as what Ace is saying here, where it's like you just say that you don't know. But there are some situations where you know something's going on, and you want to make a choice to affect the outcome of that, but you can't actually know the facts on the ground. And so then what ends up happening? You make the decision based on which side of the aisle you're on. So kind of scary. And then who's in charge of all of that? The deep state is. You see how it goes. Okay, so that worked out. For me to adjust my position. Exactly. Facts don't matter anymore. Only knee-jerk reactions. Yeah. And the reason why I keep saying that I'm bothered when I go and I read people's comments online is because I'm getting stuff from both sides of the aisle that's absolutely crazy. Is that many of the knee-jerk reactions that people are prone to often have absolutely nothing to do with the situation and the facts or any of that. So here's one that I've been seeing a lot. On Reddit, I saw at least 3 instances where they posted a picture on r/pics and they said this person was in the airport crying that they called him a terrorist and stuff. And he was kicked off the flight. And so they were claiming that these people were kicked off of their flights because they were at the Capitol protests. It's false. So the people in charge of the no-fly list have specifically said that nobody has been removed from a plane for being on the no-fly list recently. So it was all a lie. And every instance where these people were removed from a plane, it was usually to do with masks. Right? So it was a complete lie. But everybody on Reddit was going on this, and you go and you read the thread and you see all of the things that people are saying, and it's like, even if you go into controversial, it's like nobody's even questioning the story, but you have no proof, and it contradicts something that the authorities have said. Right? Like the people that actually would know if it had actually happened said that it didn't. Like, what? Okay. Now here's the one that's on the right that oh my gosh, it just blows my mind. Is Mike Pence is a traitor? No, he's not. Mike Pence was like the only smart guy through all of this. Okay, he knew that he couldn't make the decision to disqualify the electors on his own, that wouldn't be in line with the law and the Constitution. He also was smart enough to say that the whole 25th Amendment thing is nonsense and bullcrap, and he is still trying to maintain a good relationship with Donald Trump. He went and he did the right thing, and all of the people on MAGA land are he's a traitor. And I guess Donald Trump said something about it, so that kind of gave them the license to move that way. But he's probably your best chance of doing anything in the Republican Party going forward. And they absolutely hate him. It's just like mind-blowing. It's like, guys, you got somebody here that did the right thing during all of these situations and does believe in the America First policy. And you want to destroy his career because he did the right thing. Oh my gosh. But that's what's going on right now. ZB is stuck in yesterday's RTH value area like dead center at yesterday's RTH wind control. I'm sleeping. Well, I have to say that they made a pretty good move up, didn't they? I think that there may yet be another turn and move down, but what did he do? I don't know about the whole Pence situation. So the Pence situation is that because he being vice president is also president of the House, and in the House there were Republicans that were going to object to pass certifying the electors, essentially. And the argument from the Donald Trump camp was that Mike Pence, as president of the House, had the authority to unilaterally reject them. That they don't even need to vote on it, because the whole thing was they reject to the unanimous consent, and then they would have a debate, and then they would vote on it. And you know how that vote's going to go. They're going to lose, and that's what happened. Okay, so they're saying Mike Pence can just reject it on his own. And Mike Pence said, okay, I'll look at it. And he looked at it and he said, no, he can't. And there was even a court case where they were like suing him over it. And I think he won the court case or whatever. So like, that's why Donald Trump supporters at the moment hate Mike Pence, because they believe that he could have just said, we reject it, and there would have been nothing that anybody could have done about it. And then they would be having the real argument about voter fraud. Okay, so pretty good up move, pretty good pullback. Let's see here. Uzi says that Q stuff really messed up the Trump crowd. I'm hard pressed to believe whoever started that didn't know what they were doing. Oh, totally. Well, you know what pisses me off about that one? So this all started on 4chan, right? And there was these guys, they came together and they said, look, we were like discussing with each other and writing these things and putting them on 4chan. And we made it all up. And it was a hoax. Like they admitted it. The people that did the original drop admitted that it was a hoax. Right? Well, then what happened was there was a purge on 4chan, which shouldn't have happened, by the way, but it doesn't matter. But basically 4chan came in and they started doing the Section 230 thing as well. They started saying, well, there's all this stuff that's going on. You can't do it anymore because it's causing a problem and it's going to hurt the website, or authorities are going to come after us, or whatever the deal was. And it was like a temporary thing. I think you can go back to 4chan and post whatever you want now, but there was a temporary time where they were censoring 4chan forum. So the far right winger Q people all left to a website called 8chan. Now, the person that owns and operates 8chan, there's and you know, I don't remember all of the details about this and why, but people have kind of strung together pieces of evidence that suggest that the founder of 8chan had been promoting the Q drops. That essentially he was writing the Q drops, or somebody associated with him was writing the Q drops to keep the 8chan website going and popular. Right? So the whole thing was apparently not just a hoax, but a hoax to boost somebody's website. That one is not proven, but there's some pretty suspicious connections, apparently. Hi, Lucas. How are you? other than chickening out on the 25th. No, because that was not how the 25th Amendment was meant to be used. And if they had used the 25th Amendment to take Donald Trump out of office, I think that it would have a bad precedent. And here again, it's going to set a bad precedent if they impeach Donald Trump and remove, like, you realize that under the current political climate, assuming that they actually do remove Donald Trump from office, then it's like for sure guaranteed. But under the current political climate, if you ever have a situation where there is a president that is one party and the opposing party has a 60% majority in the Senate, they will use impeachment to remove him from office regardless of what he has done. Like, that's the way things are going right now. That was not the intention of impeachment. There's nothing to impeach him. He didn't commit a crime. I'm sorry. This is one, the thing that I find interesting about this and where I think that Democrats have a real issue on this impeachment thing, not just that it kind of messes with their agenda. Like, it really is kind of going to be like they're going to impeach and it's going to harm their agenda. But, I looked at it and I went and did all of the legal research. And I'm not a legal expert or anything, but I went and I did the legal research, and it was really clear and obvious to me that this didn't fit incitement, that it was illegally allowed free speech. And but what I didn't expect was how many legal scholars would come out and not just say that he didn't commit a crime and that this is legally allowed free speech, but that continuing to pursue this impeachment will have a detrimental impact on our government and the Constitution and stuff. Like, there's like 3 or 4 big legal scholars that have written articles like this. You should go read if you haven't read. So, and then here just this morning, they're saying that they don't have the number of Republican senators on board with impeachment to make it happen. So I think that right now, at the moment, while the iron is hot, that is probably the most that you're ever going to get Republicans to be in favor of impeachment. And the longer that this goes on, the less and less in favor of it that they're going to be. So that's why I'm saying here this morning that I'm not just saying that he didn't do anything wrong like I was before, but I'm also saying that they're probably not going to convict him. You need to go and do proper research and get that. See, and then this is the thing that like just drives me crazy. This past week in particular, is that people think I make this shit up. I don't make this stuff up, guys. Okay. It's been happening on the Bitcoin thing a lot. There's this guy yesterday. I was like, if I would like to go short Bitcoin, I'd put money on it, but there's not a place where you can do it with like $500 and keep it in dollars. And he's like, oh, well, yeah, you can. You just go and, buy Bitcoin and then use it to go short on margin. And then you'll transfer the Bitcoin that you make over to a legitimate exchange and exchange it for dollars. And I'm like, no, that's exactly why you can't do that, because by the time you're able to transfer it and get out, you're going to lose half of your profits. And I know this because I watched somebody do it in the 2017 crash and they got screwed. You have to do it in dollars. And he was like, I'll say, oh, you guys are just saying this because you're mad that she didn't go wrong and all this. And I'm like, no, guys, like, I don't just I'm not just sitting here going like, okay, I feel like that I don't like Bitcoin and so I should be short it. No, I have a model and a strategy that I've been trading for 3 years and that I've made money and numerous extremely prescient predictions with. And you just follow this strategy. And you're saying, do this thing that the strategy says is a really dumb idea. I'm not going to do that. And you're just some idiot that has no fucking clue what's going on and just says that because they're long. And here you're saying, oh, well, I'm so smart because I have the feeling that it's going to continue going up forever. And you, this guy that has this model and all of this information and has actually been proven to be good at knowing how these things are supposed to go, should ignore everything that you know and go with my feelings now, right? And I'm getting this from people all the fucking time. So let me just be clear. When I say these things, I say it because I believe that I have a logical or quantitative edge in being able to predict how these things are able to go, right? So here in this particular case, I've done a significant amount of research because I love the legal arguments about these. I've read there are literally 3 full-on legal analyses from world-renowned legal scholars on this that say that it's legally protected free speech. And we just now are getting some information from the journalists about what the count is, and we can go and do the political analysis of it to kind of know how these sorts of things tend to go. And I'm telling you that the chances are probably at this moment 60% that they will not convict him. Okay. Politics is like trading. Personal perspective plays in your belief system and what you accept. Well, that definitely does influence things, but I'm just saying that I have evidence that I can point to that I believe backs up what I'm saying, right? I remember the armchair big brains on Facebook telling me how stupid I was when last March when I said Biden would win the election, there'd be a vaccine drop within a month of him winning. Yeah. Well, that one, I mean, the funny thing with that one, Uzi, was that everybody in the administration was telling us that from the very beginning that we would have a vaccine by like November or December. And then everybody in the media is like, no, that's not going to happen. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, everybody that has been following this knows that that's around the time that they're expected to be done, and that all of the trials have been going well, so there's no reason to expect that they won't approve it then, you know? And then, of course, it was like they literally waited until like the day after to say, oh, yeah, it's approved now. That one was funny. But none of them put money on their calls that I was stupid. On the other hand, put money on my call. There you go. My friend's strategy is averaging down at whatever price Bitcoin falls and selling. Once it jumps, he believes it will go to at least. Yeah, I tell you what, this is the other one on Bitcoin is I keep hearing the number 100,000, man. And it really seems to me that this is based off of this is what the last run was like and yada, yada, yada. But I don't think that they're going to get it. I don't think that it moves like that anymore. They literally don't have the amount of money out there legitimately interested in Bitcoin to do it. And from what we can tell, the money is all just coming in through Tether. Do you really think that all of this millions of dollars that it's just people going in and buying Tether and using that to get into the market? Because I really don't think it is. If I was a hedge fund, I would go to Coinbase and I would say, I want to put in X million dollars in, and that's how I would do it. I wouldn't even consider the whole Tether thing because it's just like such a huge risk. So I really think that they're just straight up printing money over there, and it's not gonna make it to 100,000. But that's not one that we can really prove it. But we'll see after this Friday. After this Friday is the big day. We'll see tomorrow. Wait, today is Thursday, right? It is Thursday because we had jobs report. Tomorrow is the day, right? No, maybe it's the 16th. I don't remember. Lucas, it's going to end badly in my opinion. Everyone thinks it's not a bubble because if it were a bubble, then people wouldn't know when in fact this is not true. Everyone knew the tech bubble was a bubble as well. Yeah. Oh yeah. I tell you what, this is something that I think is the true characteristic of a bubble, and I don't hear people say it. What makes something a bubble is that a bubble is usually based on some sort of underlying assumption that is false. So assets move up based on an assumption about the world that is incorrect. And when that assumption is proven to be wrong, then the bubble pops, right? But it seems to me that the real key that kind of really makes it like the bubble like at the top is that the bubble is so strong that people act in a way that is contrary to what they really think. Well, I don't know if I really wanted to hold this through the open, but it looks like we're going to get our target, so. So there's going to be people that are true believers, but there's going to be a bunch of people that really are in the know and know what's going on and still buy up in the bubble despite knowing that it's a bubble and thinking it's overvalued. And I think that that's what truly makes it. And so you're totally right. When the tech bubble happened, the smart people on the street knew. For sure. And they still bought it, and they still ended up losing a ton of money in the bubble. That's what's so funny. Where's Gary? I don't know. Yeah, he's maybe come in a little later. Well, we got some okay opening pushes, and now overall it's a sell. E-Trade clients are not happy today. Ooh, they're getting timeouts. So I want to change this. I want to change this to be only 125 and larger. Okay. Is Ace can give us? Well, I think that he went long earlier, right? I don't know if he held it. Oh man, they didn't quite reach our target there, did they? Okay, so Romario, you have a legitimate point here. You don't have to commit a crime to be impeached. The first ever president to be impeached wasn't removed from office for crime. So I need to go back and research that one because I haven't been it's been a long time since I've read about that particular case. But there is definitely this case that you don't necessarily have to commit a crime, and that the Senate has been given leeway to say that while something is not explicitly a crime, but it still justifies removal from office. I would agree with that, although I would say that that's not the intention, right? Or rather, impeachment is not intended to be you're not supposed to be able to remove a president from office because we don't like him and we have a 60% majority, right? That was not what the intention with impeachment was. But they did give them leeway to be able to say that it didn't have to be an exact crime that we've all thought about, because there could be all sorts of weird situations, right? But, and here's the kicker on this one. If you are going to claim that he committed a crime to impeach him, and he didn't commit that crime, and that thing is not a crime, then the impeachment should fail. Right? If the articles of impeachment were Donald Trump is a poo-poo face and we don't like that he's saying that the election was rigged, and those were the articles of impeachment, and they were able to convict him on that, then I would say, okay, fine. But because they're saying that he incited insurrection, which is something that is objectively not true, I don't think that the impeachment will succeed, or that it should succeed. Okay, well, it doesn't look like this is working out for us. It does look like that they want to go, well, I don't know. The cumulative delta isn't actually showing us which way it's going to go, but the treasuries are kind of moving now. I mean, we could go short 24 now if we wanted. So the frustrating thing about this now is that if this does go to our target, it's probably going to go way past it, right? I was wondering if the impeachment should be allowed to bring up as evidence of voter fraud. Well, that could happen. They may do that. I don't know. What are you saying here? Oh, certainly Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley should do that if the House moves to censure or remove. Yeah. Wow. It'd be interesting to see where this goes, because the issue that I see is that there's a lot of people talking really loud at the moment, you know, because they want the impeachment and they're pushing a particular narrative that isn't necessarily true. And the issue is that they're not going to be able to pick this up for another week. And then even after that, they may not actually do anything about it for several weeks afterwards. And I think the issue for them is that the way that people are going to see things in a month is going to be very different than the way that they feel about it today. You know? And the chances are that a lot of it will be that they will just kind of cool off a little bit. That is, unless something else happens, like that there is like an actual legitimate terrorist attack against Joe Biden during his inauguration or something like that, right? Macaulay Culkin supports efforts to remove Donald Trump's brief cameo from Home Alone 2. And this is I keep coming back to this point and trying to make it a bunch of different ways, and it seems like nobody cares. But here, the thing that really irks me about all of this is that it just seems like vindictiveness for no reason. Like none of the things that people are trying to do matter. Like people will say Donald Trump is not fit for office. Doesn't matter. He's going to be out of office before you can impeach him. So, like, none of the things that people are trying to do have any impact on anything. It's literally just personal vindictiveness. And people are upending the entire political system for personal vindictiveness. Y'all have become him. That's the thing that Donald Trump does that everybody hates, is that personal vindictiveness. And now you're going to turn around and do it to him and upend the government, do it. You're worse than him. You're worse than him. Just as bad as him. I mean, what he did. I saw this TikTok the other day that they were posting a tweet that somebody made, but this tweet said that Donald Trump doesn't actually believe that there was voter fraud, and that he's only doing this to be vindictive because of the way that the media treated him and all of this and that. And they cited their source being people close to the administration. So I don't know if it's true or not, but it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? It kind of makes you wonder. Okay, so Ace went short. We're kind of, see, this is exactly in the area where it's like, I don't know if the signal works well or not. The treasuries definitely fell back down. Maybe we should have taken the short there, but I wasn't paying attention. I guess I could still do it. Except for that, you know, you've got this issue, like, if you get filled, do you really want to be? So we're going to play it safer. Should have done it at 24, though. Is a good graphics card justified to increase processing speed on software that draw indicators on the chart? No. So if you're building a new machine and that machine is intended to be just for day trading, I would recommend you get a GeForce 1650, which is the latest generation, but the most budget card you can get. And then you get all the advantages of like the extra chip on there to record video if you ever choose to do that. And you'll have more than enough processing power to do all of the graphics processing, driving the monitors that you need and stuff like that. And you're not spending a penny more than that. Okay, well, the volume is coming in long, but they haven't broken that high yet. Okay. So there was a big sell there. But they beat that out and are moving higher. Italy is said to seek up to 30 billion of extra deficit. Is drawing an indicator on the chart real-time fast a graphics task? Generally speaking, yes. So the particularly in NinjaTrader, the framework that they use to draw the charts is a framework that uses your graphics processor. In fact, if you press Control-Shift-Escape, and your task manager will pop up, and then you can click on the Performance tab, and you will actually see a metric here down at the very bottom, your GPU, and it will tell you how much of your GPU is being used. So you can see here for me, I tend to use 13% of my graphics processing power. And I have a GeForce, well, it's equivalent of a 1660. I forget what they call them. 9600 or whatever. So there you go. So if I have I have a ton of charts and I have a ton of stuff drawing out on here, right? So if my machine can handle it, then pretty much any graphics processor on the market that is of the last two generations will work. 1060. Is it a 1060? Maybe it is a 1060. Oh yeah, that's right. Because the 1060, and then they started going the 20 and the 30. Yes, so it's a 1060. Oh, it said it in the window. Oh, okay. So you got to realize I bought that 1060 when it was like a new processor, and I got it for $200. And then I've been thinking of like trading up, but the cards are just too expensive, and like I really don't play games anymore. It's turned into, one, I spend more time with the baby, and two, they just don't interest me anymore. Like I can think back to all the time that I spent playing Unreal Tournament or Overwatch, and I really enjoyed it. And then whenever I try and play a game, like the magic's not there anymore. And I don't know if it's that games these days just suck or if it's just a part of getting old. You're using 60% of your CPU? Well, there you go. I use a lot of my CPU, but that's because I am doing the encoding for my streaming on the CPU, which I probably shouldn't. That's why I should probably upgrade to my 1060 to a 1660, but meh. It's money. I'd rather do other things with it. Let's see here. Correction. A previous version of this story misstated that Representative Ted Lieu grabbed a crowbar before leaving his office. He grabbed a Pro Bar energy bar. Oh my gosh. Media got had on that one, apparently. Oh, by the way, how are our algorithms doing here? I see that they've taken some trades. I only had like one that really worked and a couple of them going long. Oh, hey, it happened. Oh, that sucks. Or did it take more than one trade? So my strategy on the ES and my strategy on the MES have diverged. They're different. One of them took a trade where the other one didn't, because the one instrument like moved one tick more than the other, and that's all the difference. So this is a problem. and it's a difference of $150 is the end result too. So we're gonna have to figure out what to do about that. Okay, so just should note that they were breaking out to the upside in cumulative delta, but that has since come back down and it's flat overall since they opened again. Now, there was some absorption up in that 3810 area. I am personally surprised that the equities aren't just going. That they're not saying, yeah, we're going to get more stimulus than we expected by all the things. President-elect Biden's German Shepherd Major will be the first dog to go from a shelter to the White House. That shelter, the Delaware Humane Association, is planning a virtual inauguration ceremony for Major on Sunday. The dog's name is Major. Well, that'll be a popular dog, and he's a German Shepherd, too. Has the president had a German Shepherd before? Trump's personal physician died? What? Really? Wow. Wow. Oh, man. Brannigan Barrett says these two markets are highly correlated and they shouldn't be, Tesla and Bitcoin. One will collapse first and the other will duly follow as they are driven by the same crowd. I don't think they will. I think that Bitcoin will fall apart here and Tesla will not. But we'll see. It would be funny if that happened. How to pick up the US population, show them a dog there. Yeah. I was really surprised and disappointed when Donald Trump refused to get a dog. Because I'm kind of the opinion of, like, you should be really suspicious of people that don't like dogs. Well, what the action right here seems to suggest to me, a bunch of retail traders trying to take it both ways and being disappointed. And, you know, like that one was just like, it was dead. It moved up enough that they're like, okay, maybe we'll try it again. This is where it turns into, like, you know, it'll chop around until they all give up and then it'll buy. I suppose there could be some accumulation in this area as well. I don't see anything that shows me very clearly that accumulation did happen, but we should just be aware that in any location that a decent amount of volume traded, that it can happen. So chop suey. Yeah, it really is bad, isn't it? I mean, we've been able to get 2 points, right? But autocorrelation is really low at the moment. And volume is pretty equal too. Okay, so the treasury ticked up into 23 there on us. Bounced hard. Big Toasty, how are you? Japan's rugby top league to blaze the start of its season. Why is that a popular enough thing for Bloomberg to be tweeting about, or are they just low on headlines today? Make a puke sign for RJ. Like, I don't know. I have a bunch of smiley faces you guys don't use. Even you guys that are $1 a month members, you don't use them. I kind of sit here. It's funny to me because it's like, okay, like I made the indicator package for you guys. There's the Discord. Like you guys on YouTube, you like the YouTube, and like that's all you need. And anything else that I do for you, you don't care. So I'm like, or should I bother? Well, it's not like a what is it? A hit on any of you or anything like that. It's just the way things are, and it's so weird to me. It's not what I expected. Because I want to be like, yes, we get this, we did put the work in and we made this thing, and the people really liked that, and that grew the channel. You know, like I want to do things to grow the community. But the reality is that the only thing that I can do to grow the community is to continue making videos. And that's the only thing that makes a difference. I need a code or two one of those days to switch your stuff to an 8. Do you have it like in 7? If it's in NinjaTrader 7, then probably the easiest thing to do is to just go on the Futures.io board, and they have, if you remember at Futures.io, they have a thread where they will just do it for you. There's also, if you go on to the NinjaTrader user app share, just search Google for it, but it's the user app share. Most of the indicators that show up on there have a NinjaTrader 7 and a NinjaTrader 8 version. So now, if it's something else that happens a lot is somebody will have something that they wrote in ThinkScript and they want it moved over to NinjaTrader 8, and that's a different thing. But I've done that before, and I will help. So certainly, if you have some sort of a strategy that you have some track record of it being successful, then I definitely like to look at it. I'm looking for someone to code an AI. Well, you'd have to be able to tell me how the AI would work. Where do I find your indicators? So if you go to speculatorseth.com, you can download my indicators, and I have it set up so that it's like a two-week free trial and then a $10 a month subscription after that. And I have a video where I go through everything that's included in it, and how we use it and everything else like that. Probably I should put links to that in my video descriptions and put the video on the website. And I guess there's a couple of things on that I can do. And these are things like these histograms that you see down at the bottom. What? Lady Gaga to sing the national anthem at Joe Biden's inauguration. That is going to get the conspiracy theorists so hot and bothered. Because they think that she is like the deep state cultist, because she was at that, what was it? Remember there was like this party somewhere in New York where they had like these black guys dressed up as slaves and being whipped, and they had people in like tubs covered in chocolate flavored blood and all of these like satanic looking things in there, and Lady Gaga was at this party. You remember that? And so they all think that Lady Gaga is a cultist, part of the global elite pedophile cult or whatever. So now to find out that she is doing the inauguration for Joe Biden, who is also a globalist pedophile cult leader, is just like they're not going to be able to help themselves. I hope she wears her meat shirt. Oh, please. I hope that she just wears something normal for once, because it's the freaking national anthem at the inauguration. Like, have some respect for once. I'm sure she'll be okay, but well, I'm not suggesting that any of that is true. I'm merely stating that the people that are the conspiracy theorists that are obsessed with that thing are going to make a big deal out of that. That is going to stand out to them. They're going to be like, oh my gosh. Okay, so we got our target. And my lungs are working out. So I don't know why this is. It seems to me that that it wanted to take along. Well, I'll just show you. I don't know what happened. Here it says 1L, but it didn't have a position. This one 1L, and it has a position. So it seems to me that they both got the same signal, but that the ES side of it didn't get the fill. Is kind of what it sounds like. Or I don't want to say that's kind of what it sounds like. I mean, that's what I suspect happened, but I don't really know. But they are not 100% in sync, are they? The micro version of the strategy is doing better today, essentially. Okay, so there's a slight move higher. I mean, to come back here, there's going to be resistance around the 38.15 area. Yeah, and they came literally right to it. Literally came up right to it. So let's see if they'll probably do the ascending consolidation thing, and maybe they'll bust up, or maybe they won't. We'll see. It's hard for a sociopathic narcissist to care about a dog, says Chris2978. Yeah, he doesn't. He has this mental thing. Like Donald Trump has like a cleanliness issue. He's like crazy about the hand sanitizer, and he hates shaking people's hands. He's like a germaphobe, and hates messes, and apparently the pets is a part of that. So he never got a dog yet. Talking conspiracy, I don't believe in the official version. Oh man. Yeah, that's the one where, so here, let me tell you about, I mean, I have no, I think that these are all conspiracy theories with no basis, but I find the cultural history around 9/11 conspiracy theories really interesting, because I remember the people on the left saying that it didn't happen and that George Bush just made it all up, or rather made it happen. And so to me, because I was a teenager at the time, right? So you got to realize that you know, I'm 35. So when all of this stuff was happening, I was on the internet, and I was like, you know, I was reading all the forums and stuff. It was bulletin boards back then, right? And so to me, and I was very politically interested too. Like, it was arguing about politics from the very beginning of the internet, all right? So to me, conspiracy theories was always a far left thing. But it was the far left that believed in the conspiracy theories, and the 9/11 conspiracy theories was like the prime one. and the military-industrial complex, because the military-industrial complex is kind of a conspiracy theory too, even though I think that there are definitely political dynamics to it that are true. And so that's why I've kind of come into this weird spot in the Trump world, because I've only become, like, when I'm on the Adderall, I've only become more logical. And I've always just been very anti-conspiracy theory. Like, people will post stuff on Facebook and I'm always, arguing with them and proving why those conspiracy theories don't make sense. And so then I get on board with the Donald Trump thing because he had the agenda that I wanted. And I get in, and right away I'm arguing with all of these guys on the Donald about their stupid conspiracy theories. And now all of a sudden, it's the right that does conspiracy theories, and the left claims to be 100% science and fact-based, which is simply not true. It's just, it has to do with who's in power, really. So it's kind of weird. It's weird to me. What do you think about the Saudi king giving Trump money for protection publicly but secretly to all former presidents? What do you think about that? Well, I don't know if that's been proven, but the Donald Trump administration definitely had a good relationship with the Saudis and had made some sort of diplomatic agreement of some kind that it appears that Joe Biden is not going to have. And it's probably going to have a measurable impact on markets and the oil market in particular, because at this point, I think post-pandemic, we're already going down the path where it seems that Russia is now a more important decider of price than Saudi Arabia is. And then you put what Joe Biden might do on top of that, it might just make it worse, So I don't know enough about oil geopolitics to really know exactly how it's going to turn out, other than that it's something that we need to keep an eye on. And that if you're trading oil, you need to be the expert on, right? Yeah, he's right. The whole thing about the Saudi, king for money for protection and stuff, though, it's that sounds like something with no evidence to back up. And why would you even bother looking anyways? Because who cares? I don't know. Like, that one sounds like a conspiracy theory just for the sake of being a conspiracy theory. You know what I mean? Like, why would it matter? Twitter trading near days low. First Squawk tweets Mexico to propose a private company can't restrict social media. Let's see. Chris says, do you trade on Jigsaw or just Dom? I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I trade on the Jigsaw day trader Dom. That's how I enter my personal entries. All right, well, they're not extending or just barreling through 38.15 yet. And since the market is still being slow, if they come back to my target, I'm going to have to take the profit. Okay, because they said, yeah. So when I take the trades, my manual trades, I'm doing that all through Jigsaw. But I have Ninja Trader here, and I have a bunch of robots going on Ninja Trader. And they've all taken positions, apparently. Sure. As Sugar Daddy says, yes, who cares? It's their blood. They're just human. Do you know how many people die because of tyrannical things? Oh, a dog's life matters more. Yeah, it does to me. Like, straight up, I'm here. I am the logical person, and every once in a while that will lead to a logical conclusion that other people find abhorrent. But what the Saudi king does in terms of wanting to be protected or protecting his own power doesn't matter a lick to me, because it doesn't affect anything about my life or what's going on with markets, and it's not an area of expertise that I have, so I don't pay attention to it and I don't care. Do you sell the bots? No, but they're still in testing anyways, right? I don't know if they're going to work well or not. So far, they've been doing pretty good. Though I do have to say, if these all stop out here and this market flips back down short, then they're going to be hurting. You guys are kind of all talking about something slightly different now. Because, well, you were saying, like, why don't you ever talk about that conspiracy theory? And in this particular case, it's just that, like, it's not really very culturally relevant to anything that's going on right now, right? Like if it's something that happened yesterday and like the big debate on the internet that day is that conspiracy theory, then I'm all for talking about it. But when we're like digging up a conspiracy theory from 10 years ago, I'm kind of like, it's not worth it. You know? Just know that your life depends on war money, probably. Everybody's does. Well, there's always conflicts and all sorts of interesting diplomatic stuff going on underneath the behind the scenes that we'll never really truly know about until much later. And I personally don't think that the 9/11 conspiracy theories really line up, though. So, well, here you go. So you're having like a perfect example. Where he's saying that like the things don't line up and stuff like that. Just because not everything that we know about something lines up doesn't mean that there's a conspiracy going on. It just means that there's a lot of situations that are complicated and are beyond our ability to really understand what's going on. You know, like the physics of what happens to a building after it's been hit by a passenger jet plane is not something that has been very widely studied before that incident. You know what I mean? Anyways, don't get personal, please. You too. Stop it. Stop it. Wow, now that's not true, Ace. If your best piece of evidence is you don't understand how a building can fall down, you don't have enough to warrant investigation. So here's I really disagree with that. And I'm not going to say I disagree with that, like that particular issue or thing does warrant investigation. But what I would say is this: why does there have to be such a high standard for something to be investigated? Why can't something be investigated just because somebody in the police officer is curious and wants to spend his time on that? You know, it's like, in order for an investigation, an official investigation of something to happen, we have to have like this high level of evidence of an actual crime in order to even begin looking at things. And I understand that you definitely have to have like a warrant and like a court case and stuff in order to get information that, you know, would require a warrant. Okay. But when we're talking about like a public event and what happened with a building, you know, I think that anybody that wants to investigate anything about it is allowed to, and that's their prerogative. And all the experts who had all the evidence disagree with you. Well, on the 9/11 thing, that's probably true. You got to be careful with that argument too, though, because something that happens quite frequently these days in politics is there's actually shenanigans going on with experts, okay? Where experts don't really agree. They say that experts agree on something when they really don't, and they overbill the amount of expertise that the people that they choose to use as experts actually have. And that they overbill how much we actually know about the thing. It happens a lot. Here, the voter fraud instance being like a really great example of where it's like there are a lot of experts that say that something did happen. Certainly, I will tell you that anybody looking at the statistical data from the election would have to sit down and be like, something's up, because it really was like Donald Trump did better literally everywhere except for the counties that Joe Biden had to win. And where Joe Biden had to win, he won it overwhelmingly, and the number of votes that came from those areas was ridiculously high, and the percentage that he got in those districts was particularly high, like 90%, right? And so almost all of these data people on the right have been looking at this information and saying like, this warrants an investigation, right? So it's and then you have to go and ask yourself like, what actually qualifies as an expert on that voting matter? Because I really don't think that what the media calls an expert on these sorts of things are people that are really all that authoritative. Like Nate Silver is the most authoritative person in this place, and I think he's full of shit half the time, you know? So anyways. But the point is this, if you want to convince people of something, a better argument would be direct evidence and logic contradicting the claims that they're making, right? So if somebody comes in and they say, I think X thing happened because of X piece of evidence, the correct response is, okay, here's what we know about jet fuel and how it burns, and actually we have discovered that the combination of factors that it could make steel melt and it could bring down the towers by themselves, right? But if you instead go back and you say, well, the experts looked at it and they disagree, and you basically do everything that you can to avoid addressing the actual claim that was made, because you don't know enough about the subject to be able to contradict it, then people's red flags are immediately going off, especially in today's environment, right? It's so much so to the point that I have found that if you can't directly refute the evidentiary claim that the person is making, it's probably best to just not say anything, because trying to make other arguments based off of authority or whatever the situation is just makes them more and more convinced about what they believe. The people who looked, I mean, I think that they were, right? I think that the government was the ones that did all of the investigation on this, right? Do you see what I'm saying? Like here's the let me put it this way. If your argument is an argument based on an appeal to authority, then what is the point of you being there? Like, you're not the expert. You clearly don't know enough about it to refute the specific thing that he's saying. So you should go and get that other guy and let him argue, because you're not accomplishing anything. This is why appeal to authority arguments in this day and age, and especially with me, are like the least effective arguments in terms of actually convincing people. You notice that when people give me make a claim and I come in and I'm like, okay, well, here's like the scientific and logical evidence that proves that claim false, and then like that's the end of it. Can move on, because like it's been proven wrong. Or to think about it, like the flat Earth. This is the great one, because here in the flat Earth you really have a truly a problem, because these people will make a claim about the way that the world works, and you can go in and scientifically prove it wrong, and you can show them experiments that prove it wrong and all sorts of information that prove it wrong, and then they still believe it, and then that's like a real thing, right? But here you can objectively prove that they're false, right? And it's not hard, because most of these people just don't know anything about space, apparently. Is Oswald the only killer of JFK? You guys. Oh, man. Well, they had a pretty good dip. I don't think that my robots stopped out, did they? Nope, they're all still along. I don't know what's gonna happen. I think that for me, that trying to scalp in this area doesn't make much sense. Maybe when we come out of the counter trend period. So maybe in another 20 minutes we can look at it again. But at the moment, this market looks like we're really choppy. So trying to get in anywhere in this area is probably a bad idea. I think that these robots over here, catching it below the open, essentially, they're probably okay to try and hold it. But we'll see what happens. You say there's a good short here? I don't know, man. I mean, I guess you're right that if you want to go short, that this would probably be a more advantageous area to do it than almost any other that we've had since the open. But I don't see the piece of information that says that you're better off going short today. You want to have as many true beliefs and as few false beliefs as possible. So you realize, though, that there's like a disadvantage to that approach, right? Really what it comes down to is how much curiosity and effort are you going to put into individual things, right? So like the whole 9/11 thing, that's definitely one where it's like, why would I dedicate my entire life or even any portion of my life to the study of what happened to the towers in 9/11? There are people out there that do it, but I don't know why you would do that, right? But let's take it back over to trading, right? So on trading, I can take the position that I want to have as many correct beliefs about the market as possible and as few incorrect beliefs about the market as possible. And then I could come in and I could say, okay, anybody says anything, then by default they're wrong because they don't have any evidence to prove it. Because that's really going to be the case with like 99% of things that you hear from other retail traders, right? And if you take that approach, how are you ever going to find an edge in the market? You never will, because everything that you do will be based off of disbelieving anything that anybody actually tells you, right? Whereas on the split side, if you just take it from the curiosity perspective, you can say, well, this person says that X thing works this way. I don't actually know. Chances are he is wrong. Let's go and do the work to see if he's right or wrong and see what we learn from it, right? And so I spend a considerable amount of time investigating and looking at things that I have absolutely no reason to believe are true or work. But because I spend that time, I'm able to find edges that other people don't find, because the other people just aren't curious or don't do the work. They don't practice the curiosity and, okay, like, here's a theory and how do you prove it right or wrong, right? So that's the disadvantage to it, is that to find something new requires a certain degree of believing in something, or at least going through the emotions of believing in something that you don't really have any reason to know is true or not. You get what I mean? Like, the question is, how does one learn and discover things that nobody else has learned and discovered? Because that's what you have to do, I think, generally, to be successful in the markets. Well, you would have evidence for your beliefs after you've gone and done the investigation. But you're saying, the authorities don't say anything about this particular setup, so I shouldn't even bother with it, is what I'm hearing. If I took the same approach that you have to conspiracy theories to day trading, then we wouldn't have discovered any of the edges that we have discovered, the small ones that we have. You get what I mean? So it comes, yeah, there you go. It comes down to your openness attribute. So to me, openness is how much will you entertain an idea when you don't have any information to tell you what is true or not. People that are extremely open have a significant advantage in day trading, I believe. Or my observation has been, rather. No. You say, if you want to convince me, you need to bring evidence. And what I'm saying is, if somebody says something, I will go and do the work and see if they're right or wrong on my own. Because that's how you find stuff. Do you get and what I'm saying makes sense? So I'm not, because you were like going off on something else. I wasn't sure if it matters or not, but. If you don't use evidence for trade away, oh, well, certainly I don't think that you would take a live trade off of it, no. So yeah, so I think that the corollary to what you just said there, in as in the conspiracy theory world, is somebody suggesting a conspiracy theory would be enough for me, if it was a subject that I was interested in, to go and do a lot of research and start to learn about that thing to see if there's any real chance of them having something or not. But I would not go on television and say that that thing that they just presented was true, because I don't know that, right? So it just goes back to the thing that we were arguing about earlier, where I was saying, like, what is like the threshold to investigate something, right? And I'm saying that when it comes to something just being like you investigating something, the lower that your threshold is for that, the more open you are, and the bigger and of an advantage I think you have in discovering something that other people don't. But entering a trade is like that. You don't 100% know how it's going to go. Well, that's true for sure, because we can't know the future. But I think that when you take a trade, you have to have some theory about why you have an edge in that situation. Well, okay, so here's a great example. One fact you have to know is that the World Trade Center 7 fell at free fall, hence no resistance below and symmetrically. That does not mean that it was a demolition. So you can watch, they've done a lot of simulations on these, and there's like a bunch of Discovery Channel videos about this where they talk about how it fell. And they prove that's not what happened. That the stuff that fell at the top, that was free fall, and then these other things were slowly falling apart, slowly as stuff fell on top of them, and that was going slower than free fall. So I've seen this special. I remember them talking about that like disproving that specific thing. Now here's the other side of the coin. and this is the thing that I think is much more interesting. Is if you have a belief that's incorrect and it matters. Okay, because I have to say, there really are some things that people can believe that they're true or not. I really don't think it matters to anything, and we should just let them be and let them think what they want to think. But if, for instance, you are a trader and you believe something about the market, and that thing that you believe about the market is causing you to lose money, how do you discover that you're wrong, and how easy is it for you to learn that and make the change? Right? That's the real challenge, isn't it? Is it discovering that you're wrong about something and realizing it? I think, I could be wrong here. I think we're still kind of testing this out. But I think one of the things that I have discovered that I was wrong is that I kind of felt like that the rotation of the market was kind of irrelevant to whether or not I should get in or not at a particular spot. But I'm starting to discover that if you try and time it with the oscillations, that it does really improve your chances. And I think that is why I sometimes will get into these spots where I'll just be wrong over and over and over again. So we'll see if we can avoid those. That LV bounce at 26 was really, yeah. Well, I really have to wonder what's going on in the treasuries here today, right? Because I thought that the stimulus would just automatically mean we can keep selling it, right? So that is definitely proven to be wrong. At this point, I would say, right? There is some demand. Like when it bounces back up, it seems like it does it so easily, but they've done it the other way too. They've moved down really easily at certain points as well. So I don't know what to make of it. You get in the middle. No, I think it's even worse. I think that what happens is I often will end up buying at the top of an oscillation. And you get into a situation where the oscillations are more than 16 ticks, and you're just, even though you're ultimately right that they're going to be moving up for the day overall because you got in at the wrong spot of the oscillation, you just get stopped out. And the reason I think that is because I went and I did a strategy where we took an entry based on the oscillation. And what we did was we did a simple technical signal that is known to be okay effective at predicting the start of trends if you're going long. But that is ultimately like a break-even trade. And then we added on top of it, okay, once it's triggered, wait for an oscillation and then take it. And that trade has backtested to be extremely successful. So but see, the issue with that one is that trade is still like a YOLO trade. I really want to get into a trade like that is taking just a teeny tiny little profit and is catching like an 80% win rate or something like that, right? And I did some oh, by the way, I did some study. What was it that you guys wanted me to look at? Oh, you did super trend, yeah. So I looked at super trend yesterday. It's apparently super trend is a trailing stop indicator. So I think to really test that one, what you would want to do is like maybe we could test it on Ace's strategy. We could say you get long in there and then you don't get out until the super trend says that it's over. So I tested it as an entry, but it appears to me that as an entry that there's no edge. And yes, they're arguing about 9/11 now. Uzi. That's what I was like. It's like not relevant. Why should we discuss that particular thing? Unified democratic control of the U.S. government at the federal level should translate into a greater fiscal impulse than our previous divided government baseline. We have raised our 2021 10-year yield target from 1.3 to 1.5. That's Goldman. Ace, are you hot? No. He has hair, for starters. That doesn't help. Hmm. Hmm. I think I'm going to change this resting orders thing over here. Let's change the min level filter to be 2, and the max filter to be 32. And that should change that up a little bit, because it just looks, with the way that it is now, it's balanced to one direction, and it shouldn't be like that. Your nose doesn't get any straighter than says, wait, what? Shut up. Are you making fun of my nose? Oh man, my lips are so chapped. This was happening to me yesterday, and it fixed it, and it got worse. So I'm gonna go and do something about that. I'll be right back. Okay, so the treasuries went and actually pushed even a little bit higher here. You think it could float all the way to 18? I don't know. The question is still, what is the source of the demand, right? Because I came in with the theory that the larger than expected fiscal stimulus will will create a bunch of supply and then put pressure on yields and move us back down. But it hasn't been so simple today. It's overall they've been buying for some reason. Maybe perhaps something to do with currencies, although this last move here, that was the dollar decreased. The E-mini is still kind of like just sideways. So it's kind of interesting also that this move that we had happened down before I got out here pushed the treasuries up, and then the equities have recovered and the treasuries haven't moved. Yeah, I saw the tweet earlier about E-Trade. I haven't seen anything on my news feed since that happens. Like I just saw one trader talking about it, and I haven't seen anything else come through the squawks about it. Whoa. A former senior administration official tells me that President Trump has a slew of pardons ready to go, as well as executive orders, plans to declassify Ukraine information, and appoint a special counsel on Hunter Biden and possibly Dominion voting machines as well. Unclear which he will do. Mine's working fine. Good thing I don't have to bail out of anything, just sitting on lots of large cap dividends. Oh, yeah, okay. So is the E-mini going to turn back down here? We are outside of the counter trend period, aren't we? What did you learn from your book, though? Were we talking about my book? The book that I've been reading? So one thing that I learned is that there's kind of an exponential model in terms of the impact of a meta order. So that, like, if you have a meta order and it's like, Meta order meaning a lot that's been split up into a bunch of different lots and doesn't hit the market all at once, okay? And let's say that it's just a meta order and it's 10 lots, okay? And then you get one that's 100 lots, that has an exponentially larger impact on the price of the market, right? But that actually trails off very quickly. So then we sit down and we say, well, like, okay, if 10,000 is a lot, then 20,000 should have like a really, really big impact. And it actually turns out that it doesn't have any change in the impact at all. Any news with Tether? No. I think that overnight Bitcoin was moving on kind of more of this like fiscal stimulus and all of that stuff, that news. But there's the thing. So somebody was saying that, who was it? Was it, I don't know. Somebody on Twitter was saying this, that like, you know, if you bought Bitcoin off of that, you want to be careful because the traditional markets don't seem to be reacting to that news. Like the E-mini is somewhat range bound and constrained today. Once again, we had some movement yesterday, but then, you know, the earlier in the week was pretty slow. And now today is really slow as well. And the treasuries are acting actually in the exact opposite of what you would expect from the stimulus. So I don't know if that means that the market thinks that they're not actually going to get the $2 trillion stimulus because of Manchin or something like that. But something's going on here. Something's going on here, and we are not on the informed side. At least not at the moment. Okay, well, and by the way, I should also point out that a lot of volume has been trading through this area. We've been seeing like icebergs up in this 13-14 area. I guess another thing is that the E-mini is overall market buying. It's just really slow. YouTube videos are the worst reference for, yeah, right? It really is. Well, I mean, can't really say if that's the case that's going on here. But whenever I'm in an argument with somebody and they say, well, you just like watch this video, what it means to me is that the person feels that they are unable or unqualified to convince you. But because they were convinced by the YouTube video, they're hoping that if you watch it, you'll see the same thing. That's what it really means, right? But that's also why you would be skeptical about it, because if the YouTube video really had like real information, then you would be able to remember it and to relate it to other people effectively without having to. But if it requires them to watch the video, then that suggests that there's really more emotional manipulation and so forth that the video is effective at doing that you aren't able to duplicate. Man, that was that the when I was saying that, I'm like, this sounds like an awfully sophisticated analysis, but that's just what goes through my head whenever people do that. Just a thought on your ranging comment. Tops are a process and bottoms are typically due to an event. Yeah, so it's kind of weird because the market falls faster than it rises, and typically when it falls, it's because of informed trading about specific events. But you're definitely right that like the top of a market works like that it kind of takes it slow. But so going back to earlier, so where I'm kind of wondering on today, John, is that last night we had some news come out that the Joe Biden is allegedly going to be going for like a $2 trillion stimulus as opposed to just like a $900 billion stimulus or whatever, or a 0.9 trillion. And so that would be, and that's why the treasuries took a big hit in the overnight. So they took the big hit overnight and then just kind of ranged around the rest of the session. And now here during the regular session, we've actually been seeing some buying. And so I've been sitting here wondering, okay, like what is the source of the buying? Why aren't the informed traders just selling it on the expectation that they're going to have to issue more treasuries? There must be something more sophisticated. There must be something more to it. And maybe it's that they don't really think that the $2 trillion stimulus is going to happen. Or maybe there's some other piece of information that it matters more to the short-term behavior in the treasuries that I don't know about. Like, it could be some bond issuances or something like that, But that's why I was saying that. And then ES hasn't reacted to that news at all. It's just ranging and it's like it's a top. And whereas at the moment, it seems to me from a fundamental perspective that everything is still in line, like nothing has changed, and they should still be like clear to move up. But the treasuries aren't doing that. And you see there they ticked up one tick as the E-mini took two little steps down. So it's like the treasuries are hedging against that. They seem to think, at least, that the E-mini is going to drop here or something. And I do have to say, it's been a long time. Aftermath of a no rate hike without inflation at 2%, today's event risks, in my opinion. Yeah, it could be. It could be in the treasury that there's still shorts unwinding, and that anybody that wants to sell it is going to wait until after the chairman's speech today. So you think the decision to add more stimulus will drive the treasury market prices lower? Yes. Correct. I think that the government will have to issue more treasuries, and that will push the yields higher. It's not working. So we're wrong. I'm wrong about something, obviously. Biden should consider pardoning Trump, says James Comey. What? That way is weird. AOC says Congress may form a commission to quote unquote rein in media after Capitol riot. Yeah, why does that make me think that the way that they would do it would be like so absolutely awful? Ugh. Okay, so we're getting the level break set up here. No. So when you issue a lot of bonds, that's the equivalent of selling. That supply on the market, there's more bonds out there than the bonds that are already out there aren't worth as much. So that means that the prices will go down and the rates will rise. But if the Federal Reserve, on the other hand, decides to buy more bonds, then that does the opposite, right? So, for instance, here, Alligator saying aftermath of no rate hike without inflation at 2% plus today's events risk, in my opinion. So that is them saying that the Federal Reserve is going to refuse to change the interest rate and is going to continue buying treasuries as long as inflation stays below 2%. And so that's why they're buying. Wouldn't an increase in the amount of stimulus dollars include the Fed continuing to buy treasuries? No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that the Federal Reserve buying treasuries and what we get from fiscal stimulus are two completely separate things that aren't directly correlated to each other. But we could be getting at that what we think that the Federal Reserve is going to do based off of their comments yesterday matters more than what is going to have to happen because of the fiscal stimulus. I think that that's probably our strongest theory, huh? But here's the other side of that argument is that there is definitely a concern in the market that inflation will show up. And if the Democrats are really going to do the amount of stimulus that they're talking about, because they're talking about like direct payments and like $250 a month per child. And I mean, I don't see how you do all of that and it doesn't create inflation in some assets, you know? But the other key thing to remember is that we're going to get a Biden budget briefing today. So it could be that they're going to wait until that happens to make decisions. I think it broke my jaw by clenching my teeth too much. What is that? Halsey's computer model? What is that? Oh. They're still arguing about 9/11. Jeez. Fiscal stimulus would work better, at least in the early stages, with keeping interest rates low to encourage individual and corporate spending. How does the fiscal stimulus keep the interest rates low? I think that there wasn't the argument that the Federal Reserve was making was that they had already deployed their tools and that to really do a whole lot more, it needed to come from the fiscal side. There's my 2 points from ages ago. Oh, really? You've been in a trade that long? the stimulus doesn't keep the rates low. Okay. Okay, so the E-mini coming back down towards the lower end of the range again. That 24.5 has gone back and forth a ton. I don't know what it was that my wife just did, but he was like whining, and I think he wanted to come into the office, so she showed him, and now they're outside laughing for no reason. I'm looking for logic that allows a button on the main chart to enable a NinjaTrader strategy. I've seen your button logic, but I don't know how to connect that to an enable strategy. Oh, well, so why is having your strategies all set up in the NinjaTrader control panel and just clicking the enable and disable button not good enough for you? So I you can create a strategy that when you add the strategy to the chart, it will add a button, and then you could have the button toggle a Boolean, and the strategy won't take an entry unless that Boolean has been triggered. But you're really going outside of like the way that NinjaTrader intends things to work by doing that. If you just need to toggle a strategy on and off, I would just put it here in this, add them into the strategies in the control panel, and then when you don't want it to trade, just uncheck it so that it's disabled. The enabled box is way too small. Oh man, you can fix that. Actually, I think you can come in here to the properties and you can change the font sizes and stuff. I'm not gonna mess with that right now, because it looks like we might be getting something going on here. Well, doesn't affect the size of the enabled box. I don't know, man. I really don't think that setting up a button on your chart is the right way to go, though. It's just because, like, you got to realize that the ability to even put a button there is kind of a hack. Like, it exists because of the way that WPF and the C# works. It is just kind of functionality that is there, and since it can be done, NinjaTrader showed us how to do it, and I showed people how to do it, so that you could do a thing that was an entry. But control of a strategy like that is there's issues with doing that, right? But to give you an idea of how to start, you would have to watch the video where I show you how to make a button and put that code into a strategy instead of an indicator, which does work, by the way. Tesla to report its quarter 4 earnings on the 27th of January. 2 Wednesdays from now. Okay. Man, are these all still long, huh? Oh boy. So just coming in from one of the French news stations, they're going to be imposing a 6 p.m. curfew in France. You have full lockdown where you live? Ugh. I have really switched around to the position that lockdowns have a more negative impact than positive. And I believe that it is because it indeed pushes more people into a smaller area. So you got more people at Walmart, and that's where it spreads. So they're holding some liquidity there at 24.5 and 25 and 28. They've got some big stuff above us. They're still kind of doing like the level break thing though. And that actually had some color to it. Slightly greenish yellow. Well, man, I don't know if anything else is going to happen today, man. We may just be stuck until Chairman Powell speaks and Joe Biden speaks and See, here again, I just don't understand why you keep using that argument. I'm reading your guys' thing here. We're just saying all of the experts have access to the data, come up with conclusion X, and other people who didn't see the data come up with conclusion Y. So first, let's just state that that's not what always happens, although that's seems to be the case in this particular instance. Who cares? Like if there's like a consensus opinion and the consensus opinion is right, then like, okay, cool. Like nothing happens, It's way more interesting when you find a situation where the consensus is wrong. That's what we should be trying to find. It's those nuances. It's those areas where the society at large believes something that's false that you can really gain a real advantage, And you don't gain that advantage by just assuming that these guys are the experts and they know what's going on and all this and that. Like a perfect example here is my Bitcoin model. I've found a model and it works, and there's all these people on CNBC that claim to be experts and they're full of shit. And they don't invite me onto CNBC, but I believe that I found something, right? And I wouldn't have found that if I just went along with the experts in Bitcoin. But I guess that's a difference because hardly anybody really trusts the so-called experts in Bitcoin. But like, there's a real problem in our society with experts being wrong over and over about major things. Thinking about Jigsaw, what do you recommend? Just the base lifetime, or is it worth buying the more expensive package? So so the more expensive, the difference with the different packages is education. Okay. So I haven't taken any of their courses or paid for any of it, so I don't know how good it is or isn't. I tend to be of the opinion that you do better to just like research and learn things on your own. So I'm not like, if it was me, I would just be buying the base package. But, you know, that would maybe depend heavily on how much you actually know. Like if you don't really know anything about order flow and trading, then maybe buying one of the bigger packages will be beneficial to you. But the vast majority of people just do the base. I will say. And yeah, if you do choose to use that, like I got that video about what is the best software trading platform, and they have a link there, and if you purchase it with that link, then it helps the channel. Hallie pens op-ed to defend decision to object to electoral votes amid pushback. Okay. If you talk to Jigsaw Pete, he will downsell you base is the answer. Yeah, I mean, I think it just comes down to like it's education, and like education is a different thing, and it's not necessarily worth it to everybody all the time. So I could totally see him doing that. And even if you were going to take one, I think there would only be like the first two. I don't think probably very few retail traders do that fourth level or whatever it is. MF says me too. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, what you get on the software is the same on all of those. It's just additional education. Yeah. What? If Biden pardoned Trump and framed it as an olive branch for national reconciliation, he might actually get a lot of mileage out of it, and for sure the national media would treat it much better than it treated Ford in 1974. The things that sometimes the Polititerati decide to focus on and talk about that day, just that's very often like, what the heck? Got chopped up this morning. Me too. It was long. Got those 5 to 6 point. Yeah. I only took one trade in the E-mini, and I took it and won. And I've been trying to manage this thing over here in the 10-year, but and I think that I would like to wait until Joe Biden's speech before I'd say that like I'm just outright wrong. But it certainly, if I was going to scalp this my usual, like I did yesterday with one contract, then I was wrong, and I was just straight wrong. Can somebody, so it's just speculatorseth.com. We should put it in the video description. Let's put it. Put it at the beginning. How should I say this? I'm just gonna put it elite indicator package : we can fix it up later, but the link should be in the video description below now. But it is speculatorseth.com. Go watch YouTube video long ES trade 19th December. This was the beginning premise of how he traded. Just remember, liquidity has changed significantly. What was that? I don't know what you're talking about, but okay. It was today I found out that alligator means yes and not why. Learn something new every day. I was always wondering why he always asks Seth why after he explains something. They must not get along very well. Yeah. Oh no, that's funny. Yeah. Anytime that I'm talking with alligator in chat, I'll say something and he'll say yes, meaning that's correct. And this guy thought he was asking why. That's funny. There was 2,000 contracts. Oh yeah, I remember when the ES was thick. Thick boy, yeah. Should get back there someday, I'm sure. There we go. Okay, cool. I hope that link works for you now. Cool. Well, can you believe that all of these robots that I've got have basically been in the market for like 90 minutes and never got any of their targets? And the buyer's still there, man. I don't know. I'm frustrated because I feel like the treasury market is trading in a certain way just off of like what one bank thinks or something. You know what I mean? They might get surprised here, but I don't know. We'll see what it does. The robots matter more, and the robots in the end made a little bit of money, I guess, but it was a tight day and they didn't do anything stupid, so I think that that's a win. How long until the Biden speech? I don't know. I think it's long after I'm done streaming, though. That's for sure. We also got Powell's speech coming up here, right, in an hour, so I think people will be watching that carefully. Okay. I'm seeing some stuff come out about the US TR not taking action on Australia, Spain, UK digital tax yet. Mini has kind of given me these signs again that like they're gonna buy here at this end of the range and pop back up. Well, I don't have much else to say here. I'm just kind of like falling asleep. I bet you we'll have a much more active session later in the day, though. The National Mall will be closed in the general public on Inauguration Day due to security concerns, according to an official familiar with. Okay, so they make all this big to-do about how many people watched the Donald Trump inauguration, and then nobody will go and watch Joe Biden's. Gotcha. Do you look at the volume profile? Well, I look at the profiles that we've got there, but only in as much as I want to see where they've been trading. Juanita Broderick says she's officially an independent. What do you recommend? Do you buy for food? Chicken is a good, you can never go wrong with chicken. Did they really just buy that up there? $43.90 at 26.5? Jeez. Your food board, I'm probably the wrong one to ask on that one, dude. I'm not a fancy chef with great food ideas. There's lots of fun people on TikTok doing that stuff, though. Vlad says options week, no programs, thin market, no trades. Well, I believe, here's the thing is that this time of year is traditionally more active, right? Like, and this week it's just been dead. I mean, do we have like a bunch of news, like economic news next week or something? Or did it really get all front loaded into the first week? Because it just seems so dead. Yeah, tomorrow we get retail sales and PPI. Those are big numbers. But what about next week? Oh, next week is pretty light. Yeah. Philly Fed and Flash numbers, but it's often slow. Well, no, so like it's less like that beginning of the year time period. So like especially the first 2 weeks of the month is usually pretty good, and then you get that lull at the end of the month, and then February comes along and it's usually good again. I don't know. Okay, so the robots lost money today overall. It's a small amount, but they lost money today. In the end. People are fleeing money making, and maybe I have to say, could it be because they know a new administration is coming in and they're just waiting for that? It could be that I think is a solid theory. That's the one I'm gonna go with. Beat those robots for losing money. I know, right? They lost a whole $20. I'm happy with it because what I don't want to have happen is it's a range bound day and they end up taking a ton of trades and they lose a ton of money, right? So them just taking a few little attempts and it not really going and they stay in it, that's all perfect. I mean, that's what we want it to do. And then when you get a good day, it's going to more than make up for it. So they continue to perform within expectation, which is good. And I did good. I only took one trade. I don't know how I ended up with that, but I got this thing going on here in the treasury where it's like, good grief. Trying to do the market making with this and not working out. Most likely Biden's speech will rip this. I think so. I mean, I think that some of the things that we're seeing here in the market aren't going to last all day. Especially this in the treasury. Well, look at the treasury coming down three ticks at a time. Well, we're getting the bill auction, so that's maybe what they're reacting to there. But I'm surprised that they came back 3 ticks that quickly. $20 used to buy a hooker beer and a meal inflation. Well, that would be 20. They would have lost roughly $20 if they actually it's more than it's more like $30 if they're trading micro contracts. So I don't know. I think Biden's speech is going to make volatility go. Why would that happen? Oh, what's the best day trading news service? Yeah, so if you use Financial Juice, they have one that's delayed by a few seconds. But it's only $70 a month. So that's what I'm using, and I like it. And I think it's a game changer for some people, so that's the way that I would go. Of course, the best is Rand Squawk, and if you can put money down on it, I would do Rand Squawk. Or a Bloomberg terminal. If you can get a Bloomberg terminal, get a Bloomberg terminal. So I came across a TikTok video yesterday where this guy was going through a Bloomberg terminal and showing what you can do with it, and it just makes me so jealous. I want one so bad. If this channel ever gets to the point where we're making thousands of dollars a month or something, that's what I'm doing with it, is I'm getting a Bloomberg terminal. Yeah, Rand Squawk is like $250 a month, depending on which service you get. How much for Bloomberg? $7K per month? I don't know how much it is. It's a lot. It's expensive. AF. It's more than I can afford to pay. Gary says 2K. I would believe him. E-mini dropping. E-mini dropping. Bill auction is done. Not sure why the E-mini doing what it doing, but you better be trading news. Well, I tell you what, dude, like if you use a Bloomberg terminal and you're good at it, you can make money doing it, man. So there's like straight up news that you will catch on the Bloomberg terminal that all of the retail traders just, like literally just don't know about. Yep. There's edge in it. I mean, there's a reason why it costs as much as it does, because you would make that back from trading it. Well, I don't want to say you will, but you could. Very much so. Okay, it's time for me to go. What should we put in today's video? I'm going to say $2 trillion stimulus? Question mark? It's a range day, man, yeah. Okay, it's time for me to go. I wish we could keep yapping. Well, I'll be on Discord. You listening, Ace, you need to get on Discord. So I'll be watching it today on Discord. Hey, thanks for stopping by, John. By the way, you have any new indicator ideas? I feel like I need new ideas. I'm looking for something that we want to create a combine crusher where we can do a trade that takes on more risk than it makes, but would at least be able to pass a combine. And I tried a bunch of things yesterday, but didn't have a lot of success with those ideas. So, or I could go bow. You know what? Stay profitable, friends.